I'm super excited to share with you guys some special guests today. We got Nick and Robert with QCK. It's a SEO agency that focuses on really, really cool AI optimized content for a ton of clients. So much cool stuff they're doing. I want you guys to introduce you, Robert and Nick. How you guys doing? Welcome to the show.
Doing well. Happy to be here.
Having us, yes.
Awesome. Well, yeah, if you guys want to give an introduction of yourselves, people that don't know you yet.
Sure. I'm Robert Battle. I'm the CEO and founder of Quick. What started out as just a disgruntled accountant having a side hustle, ultimately evolved into a rather large digital e-commerce agency. And I mean, it's just insane, like the winds that are at our back with all this AI expansion and changes in the industry. I mean, even a year ago, it was basically everyone was saying SEO was dead. And it's just so crazy how much it's completely turned around and it's became something that is essential for especially, small to mid-sized businesses to leapfrog the competition. So I'm sure we'll go into a lot of that today, but Nick, you want to introduce yourself, man?
Thanks. I'm Nick. I'm a COO of Quick, and I wouldn't say disgruntled accountant. I'm still a current accountant for us. But yeah, no, I've been alongside Robert on this for the last 3 years or so, watching us scale from, the back end of what I would call the side hustle there. Well, it wasn't even a side hustle at that point. It was a machine, but now it's a well-oiled machine, and it's been an awesome journey so far. And I've jumped into the client management space as well. So just seeing the rapid changes that Robert alluded to has been wild, and like staying on top of it. It keeps you sharp, and I'm looking forward to discussing that side of things and how we kind of stay with the times as well, to keep our clients informed and to keep the results coming as well. So
definitely. Cool. Yeah. So I guess the exciting news that we're going to talk about, right, is that OpenAI just integrated with Shopify. I think it's a huge thing for e-commerce brands.
Yeah, let's go. Whoop, whoop. Super excited about that. Finally, after so much of a tease the past 3 or 4 months, back in November, even is the first time they mentioned it. And it's just crazy because our demand fluctuates so quickly whenever Shopify releases an announcement like that. It's kind of insane because everyone wants to get on it. So just super exciting time. And I'm so glad they finally, married themselves together with that. So about time.
Right.
Yeah, it seems like things are changing with AI every 2 weeks nowadays. It's kind of crazy. Yeah. Got to keep up with it. But I guess it's because everybody's using it. It's really popular. So just kind of goes with the territory. Of course, the e-commerce platforms want to keep up with that, right? Makes sense.
Yep, so true. I think it's also super interesting, like the diversity between which models you use for what. Like it definitely feels like that the marriage between OpenAI and Shopify is way more natural, because it felt like for all my, even personally, like all my personal things like shopping or doing looking for reviews on home services or anything, I'm using ChatGPT for that. Whereas if it's anything work related at all, any bit of deep creative thinking where I'm not trying to get a pat on the back that says good job, just ChatGPT.
Right.
I'm using Claude for that, and Claude is much more likely to tear your idea apart and say you're not thinking about this, which is
right.
Really
so that makes sense as to why the marriage between OpenAI and Shopify is so amazing, because like Robert, I use it for almost like a Google on steroids, right? Like it's gonna accrue all the answers that I would be looking for through different forums or whatever else, and is able to promote or pitch a product there. But then you have to leave chat to go find the product, right? Then you're back at Google, or you're on the website or whatever else. So naturally, integrating the two just makes a ton of sense, so you don't have to leave the platform at all. So
yep.
I'm kind of curious because I haven't actually tried it out myself from a consumer standpoint. So have you guys tested it out at all?
Yeah.
How it actually works,
literally almost daily, to be honest. Just just searching to see if there's any new features that are always available.
Yeah.
The most recent one that I found is where I haven't necessarily been able to figure out how to make it check out yet, but I have been able to easily source it for product reviews, and you can actually even click on the name of the product, or I think it's was the image is the one that I clicked on ChatGPT recently even, and it pulls up a sidebar with the website links, and even sometimes the website will actually show, which is kind of crazy. So I do think there's a little bit of progress. I think they're kind of rolling it out, even though they've already kind of announced it more or less. But I think it's a natural play that they're going to have to enable the checkout feature, at least using Shopify's native checkout. I mean, before they run out ads. I mean, they're gonna almost have to run out ads or roll out ads because I mean, like, look at what they're losing massive ground to Claude for anything like work-based, which is very obvious, even like what we just talked about. So I think that the ads play is the only play they're going to be able to make to, again, I mean, they've got a big IPO coming up. So if you're keeping up with that or anybody else is, you know, and they just missed their earnings like crazy. So
Yeah.
you'd be surprised if we see more integration as they capitalize. But
You can like see the evolution though, almost like, you know, the chart of the guy like turning into a human or whatever, like, because it just started out with like giving you some product, maybe like ideas or something and a place to click. And then it like evolved into like maybe putting like the blocks in the chat of those. And now, as Robert mentioned, when you click on the block, it pulls up the sidebar and you can see where, you know, right now it says visit site, but I can see like in the future where, or hopefully in the near future, what they're claiming at least, having like an add to cart there and like a checkout portion there, because like the bones are there. Like it's so obvious. It's just like we're missing that last little step there. So yeah.
Yeah, it seems like they're kind of just rolling this out and going with the flow on it, which is nice. And I'm sure that we'll see a ton of different improvements over the coming weeks and months and whatnot, right? Maybe some video integration, some, you know, who knows, some other interesting
I'm surprised
stuff.
they don't have that. That's a really good point that you brought up. I mean, and that also goes to kind of like a little bit of our like multifaceted search strategy now, because search is messy today. You know, it's you've never had more tools or more abilities to find a clear, concise answer faster than you ever have. But I think the interesting thing about it is, you know, there's still video is still such an authority, and it has to be part of your digital marketing strategy in some way, shape, or form. And it has to be posted in the right places, and it has to be surfaced, which is important. So I'm surprised that they haven't really integrated video as well. I guess they're probably like secretly behind closed doors at war with Google, and Google owns YouTube. So I'm sure that that's probably what's holding up their integration. But it wouldn't be so natural. Can you imagine if you just ask like ChatGPT to do something and just found a perfect YouTube video, which is probably what Gemini does. But again, I'm not using Gemini because it feels like it's shoved down my throat with Google. So
yeah.
Yes, I am kind of curious. How many different AI tools are you guys using? Is it just like a one or two?
I think
I know there's so many.
I think what we alluded to, we actually recently switched our entire 60 employee staff all over from ChatGPT to Claude recently. Because for a while we're actually running both in tandem, and it just became like more of like a why, you know. But then of course the moment we did that, then Claude like cranks down on their like token limit, and so then it's like, oh, you smart people. Like
while also defaulting to the highest token usage, you know, model, which, you know, we sniff that out, but
it's like the race to the IPO on both those companies is kind of killing the consumer a little bit, but it's fine. So we use that super heavily. We also use a lot of custom agentic tools in the background, because to be honest, if your agency that you guys are, that anyone listening to this isn't, if they're not working with the agencies they're not working with, they're not integrating agents in some way, shape, or form, and trying out OpenClaw and really trying to be cutting edge with this and understanding what's going on, you know, they're going to get smoked. And which means your strategy is going to get smoked, because everyone else that's moving so much faster is just going to beat them to the punch. And so that's a core, super core belief here at Quick, is that we just want to always be using the best tools. I kind of equate it to like a tidal wave, and you can either try to like make a SaaS tool or something and just get crushed by a new model that comes out or whatever, or you can try to build a surfboard where no matter what the tidal wave is, the model, Claude, OpenAI, whatever, we're still surfing it, we're riding it, we're providing that smooth experience for our customers. And I think that's something we've always believed in early on, was just like, we have to work with the best tools. I don't care what the cost is. We have to know the best. We have to work with the best in order to make the best result for our customers. So we use a lot of them. We're even trying some crazy Chinese models, of course, just because it's cheap on the tokens. But that's more on our like agentic side of what we do inside in-house, but it's fun.
Amazing. I love it. That's awesome. There's got to be, there's so many AI tools nowadays. It's like endless. Like, which one do you use for what? Like you said, Claude seems to be one of the best ones for content and whatnot, but ChatGPT does great graphics, and you know, other ones are coming up. So, and there's OpenClaw, which of course I think you need to be like a bit of a developer to have, you know, some experience to know how to use these sort of things. Which,
or a YouTube enthusiast. I'm going to be very clear there. I am by no means a developer. I've dabbled in some Python, but like my experience quickly got crushed, like with the first like coding OpenAI integration. But you can actually do it without it. Like you can do it by following tutorials, by really kind of following it. And I think that's one thing where I think we're always going to be ahead, is because myself, Nick, a few of our other executives, we're just such students of the game. Like we just love these tools. It's really where my passion is honestly, I'm kind of more of a builder than I am anything else. So now thankfully I've got the privilege to just kind of build all day and really kind of just make the best possible outcomes for our customers through tools. But again, I don't know how to code, but I figured out how to spin up OpenClaw. We obviously have some other professional automation AI team members that are running a lot of their own OpenClaw. So I have them as resources. I really like pride myself on going in, pulling up a YouTube video and then buying a little Mac Mini and trying to like do it myself until I hit a couple walls, you know, and just push around it. But I think that's like the ethos of probably, I mean, probably what any entrepreneur listening to this is you want to do it first yourself and then hand it off to somebody else, basically.
Yeah. Well, and then, you know, my role in that is to take as many things off of Robert's plate. Like I manage, you know, the team, all of the finances and different things like that, so that he's able to do that because he's much better at that than I am at that. So, you know, finding like the right separation there. But so like if I'm able to let Robert cook on those things, good things happen for us. And it's been a great setup thus far with that. So
agreed, man. Awesome. And any entrepreneur listening to this podcast too as well. I mean, I think it's so critical that you find, you know, your partner in this, for lack of better words, you know what I mean? Someone that is your yin to your yang, you know, that can allow you to do your best work, because the things that maybe you don't want to do or you're not as passionate about are maybe the things they are passionate about. And that's, again, if you're working on the most passionate things you're doing, you are going to always have the best outcome. I mean, what's pretty obvious is, you know, what is work to someone else is play to you. You will beat them in the long run all day long. I think that's part of the game, is amassing the team that it feels like they're playing and not working, and then everybody wins. So that's the next step of also scaling, you know, hiring right, but it's critical.
True. So yeah, let's talk about generative engine optimization, GEO, because it's such a buzzword these days. You know, with all the people doing searches through AI now, you really want to have your site, especially your e-commerce store, show up in AI. So what is GEO all about from your guys' perspective?
There's so many different ways to kind of chop it up. The best, easiest way to explain it is the differences between what search used to be versus what search now is today. It used to be driven off of obviously Google, typing in keywords, maybe typing a question in there, but usually just keywords, because you almost had to like think like Google to find your results the fastest. And so the whole, you know, the whole demand economy kind of figured out how they can navigate Google the best to do their own research. Now, flash forward to today, the difference is your search prompt in ChatGPT and Claude and Gemini and Perplexity, it is more of a conversation. So we went from keywords to conversations, and that difference is monumental, because now what's happening is, instead of getting a list of 10 different results and then maybe clicking to page 2, whatever, and trying to do your own research, instead you get one answer, or you get a very small number of distilled answers that have already done all that research for you. So you're almost having to get pre-qualified by the LLMs before you even have a shot of being seen and being judged, period. And even it's crazier because, you know, even like with all the hallucinations and all the issues that AIs have, I know myself and what it looks like, all these other consumers as well, you know, you're still trusting that their opinion is the best, which is crazy, or at least it's the most thoroughly well-researched. Sniff test, you know.
I ask for sources depending on the product, right? Like I'm not gonna ask for a source, I'm looking for shorts, right? But like if I'm looking at like a supplement or something like that, obviously I'm gonna ask for sources there. But like Robert said, you know, with Google, like you might search, you know, best men's shorts for vacation or something. Like whenever I go to chat, it's like I'm going to Mexico City in the middle of May. Like, you know, this is my height. Like, what are some shorts that would be good for me on that? Like, you're having a conversation there, almost like going into a store and talking to the person working there and having them lead you to where you need to be, versus like just walking in and seeing the signs of the different sections up there and going and sifting through everything yourself, right? And so that's where the difference lies, I feel like, and where we're trying to get found in those different searches there. There's just so many different buzzwords inside of the single search versus just optimizing for the one buzzword on Google. And you know, they still have crossover, right? But at the same time, that crossover is the gap is like widening the distance between the two, I feel like. So now you are fully optimizing for one versus the other, depending on, you know, the industry, the product, the client goals, and different things like that too. So
yep.
Got it. So what kind of things can store owners do to enhance their visibility in the, you know, the AI engines like ChatGPT and whatnot? What are like some action steps they could take?
Yeah, so there's two major areas. I would say I'm using like traditional SEO speak for this, but there's on page and there's off page. And I'm going to tell you what you need to do, what you should focus on, and what the difference is between previous versions of trying to optimize for Google. So let's do on page first. You need to have really, really clear, concise, question answer based info just across the site and the right stuff. So you need to have a lot of content that is exactly what your users are searching for. You almost have to get in the head of your customer and just understand exactly what they are probably asking ChatGPT. Again, in that conversational tone, which is most likely just most asked questions. So it's not all that different necessarily from how we used to create a lot of blogs or collection pages. Again, if you guys have ever seen anything about us on YouTube or anything, you're going to learn that we love collection pages because they're commercial intent, and it's really critical to make you basically rank. But I say all that to say is you need to make sure you're focusing on helpful, useful questions and answers that are really dialed into what your user is looking for. And that is positive and negative types of questions. So for example, going back to the Mexico City one, maybe talking about why you shouldn't wear shorts that are super high because of blah, 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 or whatever. Like there's going to be so many reasons and different things that you should basically have answered. So it's kind of crazy from that side. So you need a lot of content still. You need a lot more commercial intent content because again, the AI is going to sift through your pages to find the most important. So focus on mass producing collection pages. That's going to be so critical, and putting that heavy content on the bottom. Where Google used to really reward long form content, like 3,000 plus words. Now, actually, the sweet spot's like 1,500 to 2,000 words. Again, something we're just always testing. Like it's not too long where it's exhaustive, but it's concise enough and structured in a way that looks like the answers from ChatGPT. They're brief, like couple sentence paragraphs, very clean, answering a question, well defined in the first sentence of the paragraph. Really just focusing on that. That's on page. Obviously, also schema optimization across your code base, but it's less prevalent than it was before because again, AIs don't care. They look at your website, they pull the data they want off, they get out of there. It's pretty simple. And then the most important thing, in my opinion, once you get the home base locked down on the website, on the on page, is the off page. And that's where it used to be backlinks. Now it is signals. Nick, do you want to talk more about signals?
Yeah. And so those different signals, I would say, are coming from relevant backlinks, like for sure. And so like what you want is if you're a cannabis company, right? Like you want to be mentioned in like Marijuana Times or whatever it was, like some of those things. And so when we're looking at different signals, like we're looking at like PR in different ways. So we've got some different things that we're working on there. Listicle type articles. So like people, like what we've seen is that chat will pull up, like if someone's looking for the best of this or that, they're going to go find ranking articles that are about those exact same things. So we've actually been dabbling into that quite a bit, both like on client sites and then externally as well. And then obviously, different things like Quora and Reddit are big signals as well, where people are having like genuine discussions about products and things. Those are interesting, like, because they're hard to crack, I would say, because those sites, especially like a Reddit, like usually if it's a worthwhile subreddit, they have pretty heavy moderation and like pretty strict rules and things like that. So I think it really is seeking out like genuine conversation around different products or different situations or solutions or anything like that. But all these different signals, because are super critical here, and like putting your product or putting exactly what it is that you're trying to rank for or appear, what types of searches you're trying to appear in are going to be super critical there too. And so it's kind of shifted from how much can I get on the website to like how many times can I be found in how many different places. And so that's the name of the game to an extent now. Not to take away from the things you're doing in your site. It's like, it's almost just, it's not a zero-sum game here, right? Like they just dropped a different assignment on you in addition to the current assignment. So that's kind of the waters that we're navigating with this right now. And we've had some pretty good success with it, I would say. The listicles have been huge for us. We have dabbled in the Reddit and Quora game a little bit there. Wikipedia is like the bank vault, I would say. Like that is the hardest one to get into because you pretty much have to be like a well-known, legitimate, massive brand to even try to get a link or a page on there. But we've had a little bit of success on stuff like that. But it's just how many different places can you get found is the thing. And now like those backlinking, if it's relevant, like just don't, appear, if you're a cannabis company, don't appear like in a home goods site or something. Like it needs to be relevant, but like the outreach is becoming more critical now too. And so it's just kind of interesting how it's shifted. It's almost to an extent a little bit full circle, but in like a slightly different way, I would say, which,
I think to piggyback off that makes a lot of sense, Nick, how you explain that, because really what's happening is the AI, the LLMs are trying to cut out the research portion for you. Exactly. And think about what you were doing back in the day when you were Googling and clicking through all the 10 links. You were looking for consensus. That's exactly what ChatGPT, what all these LLMs are doing. They're looking for review reputation consensus, that everything makes sense, that yes, this product is the best possible example for my customer, ChatGPT's customer, that's searching for that exact answer. So these LLMs are crawling the internet looking for consensus, and they're doing so by looking at authoritative places. Authoritative places is defined as being different depending on what you're searching for. Meaning if it's like a cannabis company, it's Leafly. It might be like Denver Times, like best cannabis, dispensary stores, blah, blah, whatever. There's 1,000 different things you can kind of sneak your way into. But one of our favorite is we have a series of websites that are also kind of review websites, because we kind of saw this coming. So we went ahead and prepared for this, and maybe giving some of our clients an award that might be best CBD gummies, of 2026. And then, since they now have an award that, again, we gave them, we're going to take a press release out on that. And we're going to have a few other new brand worthy reputation management type signals going out there about them winning that award of best CBD gummies of 2026. So now you've just you went from one thing, you went from basically one backlink, and you created like 10, 15 different signals. So the best way for any brand to understand what ChatGPT thinks of them is just Google it and look at what shows up. I mean, that's what's important, is you look at, see like what links are showing up. Are your reviews showing up? Are your listicles showing up? Are there press releases showing up? If there are not any of those things, you need to be doing that in addition to making sure your website's battened down, that your hatches are all battened down and you're ready to, sail out into the ocean basically. And that's what you have to focus on page and off page. And we've kind of evolved our service to be effortless in that, and how we manage it, how we strategize with the customers. And then we use, of course, heavy AI usage internally to make sure that we are almost duplicating your audience, understanding exactly who we're writing for, what their concerns are, what language, what marketing verbiage is actually going to hit. And that's, in my opinion, one of the most exciting areas of AI is like audience simulation. But again, we can talk about all that later, but it's
the irony of Googling yourself to figure out what ChatGPT thinks of you, right?
Right. Well, that's what they're doing, right? They're just using their own tools to orchestrate and try to like look at it. And the best thing they have is Google, because it already is a great algorithm and services everything. So crazy.
So this stuff is basically, it kind of sounds a lot like SEO, like it's basically the same stuff, but it's
they both
like
have
they're doing the
EO
research for you, right?
in the back end of it.
Yeah. It's all these EO, AEO, GEO, SEO. So it's kind of like they're doing the same things, but you're talking more in like a conversational tone with some of the content, with the FAQs and whatnot, asking questions and all that. Reviews are really important, obviously. Especially getting a lot of reviews fairly often. That shows that you're an active company, right? Google sees
on your
that.
site and also off your site. Important to know. Like, too, right? I would almost say the ones off your site are almost more important, because I mean, let's be honest. Like, we all have used every review widget possible on Shopify, and it's even I will look at someone's stores that are the reviews on their own website and be like, grain of salt. Is there anything off site really like actually viable? And I think that's important to note, is if we're doing that, everybody else thinks that too. And that's why, including AI, so we have to shift how we build our reviews, basically.
Yeah, definitely. That's a great point. Trustpilot is a really good one to use for almost any brand, e-commerce or agency or anything, because they do like a really strong check of the reviews, and they even will pull reviews if they think they're like from a friend or they're automated or something like that. And so Trustpilot's one of them.
So true. And again, and maybe it sounds crazy as an e-commerce company to set up a separate review widget and basically start working with Trustpilot, but that's one more massive signal. And if you Google any like major name brand product or brand, I mean, you're going to see as well how they're being pulled from those other types of reviews, from Trustpilot, from, the listicles, because again, even though listicles are, and anyone that's listening, maybe you've dabbled in this, but they're affiliate, they're parasite SEO is what it's also called.
Yeah.
You're paying to play, paying to get listed in these listicles. So then this is almost like the revival of affiliate marketing, but the attribution is extremely messy because you're basically using the affiliate article to convince the LLMs to rank your brand. So it's going to come through in your Google Analytics as like a click from ChatGPT. But in reality, that was actually your, $1,000 you spent on that Healthline article, 2 years ago. That's giving you that authority. So
attribution tools now that can track the entire journey are important because it can see the origin from, Denver Times, and then it can see that somebody was on there, and then maybe they were on ChatGPT or the reverse, and then to at least properly attribute it. But yeah, it's super interesting, as Robert was saying on that.
So I'm kind of curious. SEO has always been kind of a long game thing. Like you get backlinks and you put a bunch of content, collection pages, product page improvements, all that stuff. But it can take months still, especially for a new site to rank. But are you guys seeing any evidence of like this GEO stuff working faster than SEO with the same signals?
Oh yeah. But the difference is you have to nail it. Like you have to make sure that every page you're creating is an asset and not a liability. That everything you're doing is helping paint that perfect picture. Because if you're even a little bit off of the entity analysis to make sure you're covering all the right questions and all the right topics, if you're even a little bit off, then you're going to be handicapped on how quickly you can gain traction. But in my opinion, this is like the new Coliseum, where a small brand can come in and they're more agile. They can weave around the big brands. They can move quicker. They can create the right pages. They're getting more traction and more hype because they are doing all these reputation management things. They're able to leapfrog the competition because they're more specialized. So it's almost like that concept of long tail keywords as well too, from the old SEO days. You want to win the long tailed ChatGPT search. And you want to keep winning those. Small little wins add up until you ultimately are dethroning a huge brand because the LLM has determined that for you as a visitor, because you look at all these other parts of these small long tail things, that your product is a better option than a bigger player because it knows more about you. AI search is way more personal. So you can win by answering all the right questions that everyone's asking, basically. I don't know if that was a roundabout answer. I mean, the short answer is yes, you can easily leapfrog it. It still takes a couple months, but it's not 6 months. Right. It's a different game now. And a lot of times brands that come to us, especially, especially like the mid-sized ones, for example, they already have all the right pieces. We just have to rearrange the puzzle. And it's like, oh shit, it worked. There you go. So then you get massive growth very quickly. It's because you're feeding everything in the right order that the LLMs want to see it. But a lot of times all the pieces are already on the playing board. They're just not set up properly to win.
Yeah. And one of the things there too is like, traditionally, right, you post a page and maybe it works its way up the rankings. It's at like 60 something, like on page 7. And a person's not going to see that because they're not clicking to page 7. But the LLM will see that because they're just, looking at literally everything. So you can have a page that's not ranking highly, on Ahrefs or something, like looking at it through the Google lens, but like OpenAI sees it and it's going to get cited. So we've seen things get eyeballs quicker, because of that. And like, that's a big difference here, is that you can still make waves on page 7, not saying here, like I'm shooting for page 7 for everybody. Like that's not, like, obviously the goal is always being on page 1, whatever we're doing, but like there is just, you're working with like a machine here, right? So it's going to see everything that you're doing much faster than waiting to get to like the page 2, the page 1 on Google. So that's a big difference as well.
Yeah. I think a good way to equate it is like the barriers to entry have been lessened dramatically.
Right.
And I think especially the more niche your product is, my God, you can smoke the competition. You just have to get the right search queries on your pages. You have to get the right signals, for lack of better words, but you can control all of that. Like I mentioned with the review website and making your own press releases, like you can control your own reputation. You can control what your search results look like, which means you can immediately get ranked in the right places for the right customers very quickly. Like one of my personally favorite clients, we have they sell waterproof paper. Hyper niche product. Like they sell it for restaurants, for businesses, for like literally anywhere. And you've probably seen their products all over the place, even at Whole Foods, for like labels in their like fruit section. Like it's crazy. So it's massive in that area, but it's a very specific use case. So if you just hammer all the possible use cases, waterproof paper for outdoor signs, waterproof paper for blah, 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 like labels, tags, whatever. And you just keep hammering it both internally on the website and then also externally, with some listicles, with whatever, then you're going to immediately rank for all that because nobody else is doing it.
Right.
Especially the big players, because they're not having to be as agile as you are to get seen. They don't understand because they have 7 layers of bureaucracy.
They have the layers of approval and nothing gets done ever. And
Exactly.
And traditionally you would have shied away from phrases like that Robert said, because you go to look it up, it's like, oh, there's no search volume for this.
Yes.
And it's like, well, it says that, but there are people that need this thing still. It doesn't mean that it's not needed. And so like being able to just kind of like shoot your shot on all those things has been massive, for that specific client, and then for a lot of other ones that we have. So yeah.
Agreed. So like really embrace your audience. Just embrace it. Understand exactly how they think, what they're thinking about, how they're searching.
Yeah. The purchaser at Whole Foods, think about them.
Yeah.
Nobody ever thinks about them, so.
I think it's the best advice. You got to really understand your target market, and it will show in all your content, right? And then AI picks that up, and SEO, Google pick that up. What kind of tools would you guys recommend that people use to track their AI rankings and whatnot? What are some of the things you guys use?
Yeah, I've dabbled in a couple. Like one thing, that you can do for sure, like, and this is free-ish, it takes some experience, is figuring out how to make some custom reporting in Google Analytics. Like I'll just start there.
Yep.
Like you can
free is always best for this.
Yeah. Like you can always create reports that show you like, traffic associated with, Chat or Claude or Perplexity or anything like that. There's one that I've been using called Searchable that's been really good. It's searchable.com. And what they do is you're able to actually, first of all, going back to Google Analytics, like connect your Google Analytics and your Google Search Console, and it'll just kind of like, at least with analytics, like produce that reporting around AI search for you. So that's nice. But they also let you like do prompt research and like see how you're ranking for those prompts and across like all different of the platforms. And then it'll also show you the sources that are being pulled to produce the results that you want to rank in. So it'll show you like, like it's citing Reddit 7% of the time and Quora 6% of the time, and like maybe Forbes, those like expensive articles, it's citing those like X amount of time. So that one has been really solid for us. Like we use that pretty heavily, and with their packages, like you can, get an API key, connect it to Claude, and do some crazy stuff there too, like as far as reporting goes. So that
we're also like, again, because I think that there's a lot of different barriers to entry, and there's a lot of too much information in some of these platforms where it's just not necessarily what you need. So we're basically actually creating a stripped down in-house version as well too. That is just what you need to be able to homebrew it. Like you do not need to know all these insane details and then optimize your pages. It's too much effort.
Yeah.
It's like there's too much data. It's like information overload. So instead, let's show you just exactly what you need. Nothing more, nothing less. We can get into the details of it, but you only need to see this to be able to optimize it. So that's almost where I would say roll back, focus on Google Analytics, and look at your referring traffic coming off these LLMs and figure out if you're getting anything. If you are, figure out where it's coming from. And then you can kind of start to figure out where the prompt is. And then you can start looking at these tools like, again, Searchable, Ahrefs, Ahrefs, however you want to pronounce it. Obviously we use them. They've got a different approach. Whereas with Searchable, you have to put in your prompts. You have to kind of guess, and which also kind of controls the data, which I don't really like that one. It's not
a big fan on that one, to be honest with you.
Exactly. Whereas like Ahrefs, they are crawling a ton of different queries, and it's giving you more of a proper like non-biased view. However, I still think it's missing. I still think it's lackluster. So that's kind of why we are building our own tool internally, just to be able to bridge the gap here and make something that's usable for everybody, instead of just killing all the information you could ever need about this that's not actionable.
And like one of the qualms I have with some of these tools too is that the whole game here is new. So we're all new to this. Then the tool's new, and then they keep trying to like optimize the tool. So like you're already new at it. You just got good at navigating the tool, and then they release version like 3.1.6, and you're like, where's all my info, dude? And so I'm still new at this, damn it. So I think like being able to like build something like Robert was saying, that just kind of strips it down and just tells you like straight up, and building something that will add to but not change a lot is going to be super important, because losing your routine on finding this information is not fun either. So
Yeah, I think the other thing is like this is like a side quest at the moment for a lot of brands that are just struggling to survive. You know, make it like they're looking for their main marketing funnel that's popping off. And I think that building a way that cuts through all the noise and says, hey, look, I know that you can spend hours a night researching this, writing content, doing all this shit. What about instead you just spend an hour a week and you just do just this, you know, and then watch that improve because you're focusing on shots on target and not just shooting a machine gun into the dark. You know what I mean? And just trying to hope you hit a target somewhere. So I think that's what's really critical is like, what's the actionable, what's valuable for your time? How do you actually get the results you're looking for? And test this channel because this channel is going to be the great equalizer, I think, in time. But for right now, it's still new. It's still exciting. I mean, we're just off the backs of SEO is dead, you know, 12, 24 months ago. So it got revitalized. It got CPR by OpenAI basically, but you know, here we are.
Yeah, that's true. I saw a bunch of YouTube videos. SEO is dead. Like, come on, you guys.
Yeah,
SEO is not really dead. So people are just using it in a different way now. That's pretty much it, right? You guys have worked with a ton of different Shopify stores already. You have a lot of clients. What are some of the common mistakes that you see with some of your newer clients and like things that they've, you know, made mistakes on that they should be doing better, that they could be doing better?
Oh, so many. Nick,
yeah,
back and forth. You do one, I'll do one. You do one, I'll do one.
Like one of the things is just believing every single video they've ever seen ever about anything, and then saying like, yeah, that's one of the things I would say, and then clearly trying to kind of do like they have the right idea in mind, but the execution is poor, right? Like you'll see, like they saw that listicles were good and they tried to do one on their site, but like it's just a block of text with like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's just there's no links in it, there's not a table in it, it doesn't look legit. So I've seen that around a bit as well. So like that's the first one. You know, we said we'll do one.
Yeah. No, I think one of the ones that I think was still very true even like years ago when it was more traditional SEO and versus even today, the fear of posting anything. So because they want perfection, people are a lot of entrepreneurs chase perfection instead of just launching and then figuring it out once you start to get traffic and you can optimize it later. Just because you hit go live or you hit like post or whatever it is, you know, doesn't mean you can't go back and edit it. Edit it once you get more eyeballs. Get some shots on target first and then figure out where you need to go once the traffic comes in. So this like fear of moving, if you're afraid of failing, ultimately. You're afraid of it getting crickets. So just get something live and just get it out there and keep trying and then let the data allow you to optimize it. Then I'm going to do one more. Sorry, Nick. But I think like maybe believing like that you're your own ideal customer. That's such fake news. Even I still find myself even to this day thinking the same thing about everyone listening to this podcast, right? CMOs, you know, CEOs, founders of e-commerce stores. Like it's funny how you have your own biased opinion about what your customer thinks, how they feel, because maybe you are like them in some ways, but you're not holistically them. So I think it's important to note that like, that's where I think AI is amazing is you can get them to simulate your audience and reaffirm, hey, this message isn't going to hit because it's not the core values of your ideal customer. It's your core values. It's not theirs. And so I think that is also important to note. So you'll be a perfectionist and understand your customer better. You know?
Right. I mean, like just to piggyback off of what Robert was just saying is just like, you are your product's biggest fan. So how can you not see through any other glasses other than that? Right. Just naturally. And so that's something that I really appreciate in terms of like working with our clients is that, you know, I'm just learning about them. They're their biggest fan. So I literally can't be. So at least I can say I'm not their biggest fan, even though I am. But like I can look at it through a more rational lens and be able to see like kind of what people might be thinking. But another thing that, you know, as far as like fear of failure or fear of doing something is like also a fear of comparing yourself versus your competition too, because some people are wanting to search for like an alternative to this, right? Like that's a big thing, like in the LLM space is like searching for alternatives to X, Y, or Z, but you can't really get yourself into that fold if you don't mention them. Like, so a fear of mentioning them or comparing yourself to them, like us versus them. So a lot of people are like, no, I don't want to talk about them on the site. Like I don't. And it's just like, okay, that's fine. But a lot of people are having these comparison conversations on LLMs or just in regular Google search, and you're not going to get found otherwise. So, but you want to beat them too. So it's like, you're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place there.
And I think even just to piggyback off that, one of the hardest areas is that LLMs are searching that and pulling that information. They're looking for the top players, the top products in that genre, and they're going to compare what are the alternatives to this top brand name. Because again, all LLMs are trying to surface the best product for their user, right? Of course. So they're going to be doing all the research, and that's a very obvious research one that everybody still uses Google today for. Best alternative to Keurig, best alternative to, best coffee pot, and by having at least those pages on your website, you're putting yourself in the ability to rank. You're putting yourself in the game. If you just say, no, I can't do that, I'm not going to name them. I mean, I think this actually is another good one then too, Nick, that builds off this, is people are afraid of posting to their website again because they think that the whole world's going to see it and read it. No one, I'm going to repeat, no one is going to read your blog. Nobody, but guess who might? It's not a person, it's ChatGPT. Yeah. They will read your freaking blog. Yeah. They will make an opinion, but no single person is going to go to your product and say, oh, I really like these pants. Let me go read their blog.
Right.
Oh,
I've never once done that, to be honest. And it's just like, and even when GPT reads it, when they, take information from it and put it in the chat, like it's going to be useful information. And it's not like I'm going to see that and then still go back to the blog and then start reading, what is this pants, a take on the best beach? I don't care. So but, if you're able to insert yourself into the game there a little bit, like Robert said, you have a shot. You can't score points unless you're in the game. And we're trying to help people score points here. So a lot of it is just kind of rooted around fear of doing anything, to be honest.
Your misinformation. And I think the other really true key areas, the content you're writing content everywhere on your site, but you're writing it now where it used to be just for humans. It is now designed to be written and understood by machines that are impersonating humans, right? That's the whole thing now. So they're trying to understand the value, figure out what's going to go on, figure out if it's actually worth recommending to you. That is the pre-qualifier. That's also the great equalizer. So if you can play their game in the right areas, then you're going to leapfrog your competition pretty quickly, just because you are, you're the most relevant to that user that's searching.
I mean, that's not to say that, all the content we make for our clients are all in ones and zeros, right? It's still we're still writing things giving it a human touch and making it an enjoyable read for anyone that does want to read it. But for the client, it's just they're thinking that millions are reading it when it's not the case. And that doesn't mean that your website shouldn't have, some original content, of expressing your opinions on things or thoughts on things. Those are great too. And make those featured blogs, put them on the front side of the site where somebody can search and let us do our thing on the back end. Because my thing is a lot of times, especially with the collection pages that Robert mentioned and stuff too, is no one is finding this unless they found it through search, which means that we've won, right? They're we've got them. So get rid of that fear, or at least let us try it out, and you'll see that that's the proper way. But yeah, a lot of it's just fear, for sure.
Yeah, I think one other area too, just real quick to touch on, is I think it's super important that your entire, every facet of your marketing should be angled towards one theme, one goal, whatever that benefit is, whatever is hitting on one channel, it will definitely hit for SEO. Meaning, let's say that you have a supplement company, you sell I don't know, maybe powdered energy or something, and you're and all of a sudden you've been marketing across better performance for the tired parent, which is me, better performance for the athlete, better performance for someone trying to lose weight. And let's say you're marketing on Meta, on obviously Meta, for all three of those different angles, but the weight loss one crushes it the hardest, by far, and almost revolutionizes your business. Well, then immediately, the moment you start to see that work there, start shifting your SEO content strategy towards that same angle, because the same eyeballs, the same, literally cookie people, the people that are coming to your website, the same cookies, the same demographic that Meta's trying to target, those are basically hitting your funnel, hitting your website, and Google, all the LLMs are trying to understand what that type of person is and then give you more of that type of person. So you basically just centralize all your marketing around the things that are working. You don't have to test one thing here and test one thing there. It's not going to work. You test intra-channel. You don't test across various channels like that. It should all be, you should always put your best foot forward. So the moment, whatever works on Meta, the benefits that are hitting, the statements that are working, the angles that are playing the best there, you should be doing the exact same thing as well in your SEO strategy. And because that, again, you kind of like backdoor it into understanding your exact customer and what their buying habits are. And so you can capitalize on that.
And like almost on the flip side too, I kind of alluded to like a attribution tool that we've used a little bit that shows like the full funnel. Is one of the things that I've seen on that too is a lot of people originating on like a meta ad or something, but you get fed those ads all day, right? So you want to sniff out the BS, like what's real and what's not here. So whenever like somebody sees that, and then you appear in like a ChatGPT conversation, or somebody Googles you, like Robert said before, and those first 10 links are, you know, the website, like a press release about this, like good things like that come up, it really kind of solidifies to them, like I should be buying from this person. So I've seen so many times like somebody originating on a meta ad, jumping to it, like, and then maybe like a week later, you see that they saw you in like a ChatGPT conversation, and then they went to your website, and then you can see them like going through the pages and buying something. So like appearing through all of those steps is super important. Like you can't just throw a meta ad up, nothing else, and hope like you'll get some customers, but you have to be seen in all of these different funnels, or else like you need to build that trust. And so that's where that's another piece of this and where that lies.
Yeah, I think this is so funny. Trevor, you asked such a good question with that, because obviously you prompted a lot of passion for me and Nick and all these answers. But I've got one more, and then I think we'll pass it back to you. But the last one that I think is so critical is changing the attribution model. Because what's happening in that exact example Nick just brought up, you know, that would have actually came through Google Search Console as a branded query, branded click. There was a huge push in the past 5 years for non-branded keyword rankings. Yes, that is very accurate. But today, in today's search optimization, in today's search in general, branded queries are no longer just your meta ads that are people are just Googling or searching your brand name and finding it. Now it's also coming through LLMs and ChatGPT. So in Google Analytics, you might see that you have zero, you know, traffic from ChatGPT, but you noticed, and you're not spending any more money in any other marketing channels, you notice that maybe your branded queries in Google Search Console are going up. Guess what? You're actually ranking on ChatGPT for that. And you would never find that out unless you started to pull other tools to see where you're mentioned. But it's important to note that the landscape of attribution is also greatly changing as there are less clicks. You know, it's getting more towards zero click, which I think will take forever to actually get to, but it's getting more towards that. You know, so it's showing up differently. And I think that's also a huge misconception, is if maybe, oh, my branded search is going up, my non-branded isn't, you know, SEO isn't working. It's like, no, maybe just look at it through your viewers, through your customers' point of view. Like it's just a different step in the funnel, basically. So
makes sense. Yeah. So you guys have worked with a lot of clients, and I'm curious what kind of case studies you guys can share with us that you have done work for, you know, clients to help them with the LLMs and the AI results, and, you know, how they've been able to grow from like a certain, you know, revenue amount or maybe a certain amount of customers. What kind of case studies you can share?
So many. Nick, do you have any ones that immediately come to mind that you think would be relevant for Trevor's audience here?
Yeah, like there's definitely one that I know of. So I don't know how much we've mentioned, if at all, like, you know, we pair a lot of our engagements like with the AEO, GEO, SEO offering with CRO as well, because you still need to convert at the end of the day. And so that's a big important, like an important thing to note. But I know like one of ours, they're in like the kind of maternity space is all I'll say, and literally got like comments from her that like said like, and she was kind of being like swallowed up, or, you know, dominated by a bigger brand. And that was like the big thing whenever she came to us. And she literally told us like we saved her business. Like I've been on a call with her where, you know, there were some tears that were shed before that, and you could tell like how much it meant to her. So that was like a really rewarding one there, I would say. I'll let Robert talk about the waterproof paper one. One thing I'll say is going back to like the website that Robert mentioned, like one of the ones we've spun up for like the reviews and listicles. I posted a listicle a couple months back, and that listicle on that attribution tool has been attributed like over $3,000 in sales, like in the last like month and a half. And that's just something I threw up as I was testing something out.
Just went live too, which is
nuts. And so like whenever you go through like all the sales on that, like a lot of it is coming through, somebody that saw them here and then saw them on GPT, like looking for like the best of this type of brand, like best THCA brand is what it was. So that's a big one for me as well that I'm super happy about. And then we've had a couple of like in going outside of the e-com space too. I know this is an e-com podcast, but like in the service space, we've had people that have told us that they cut their marketing budget by like X amount of percent and started working with us, like as far as like, running paid ads and stuff, and have seen the same amount of revenue in the same time span, which has been awesome to see as well. So I'll pass it over to Robert though, because I know he has a couple to share also.
No, for sure. There's just so many ways to also equate just kind of what is the most viable option of a case study. You know what I mean? Like, so is it one, visibility for a brand that maybe is mostly in Whole Foods, for example, which we have a couple brands there? Or is it more like a smaller brand that just needs more revenue to put more money into the marketing machine, And so it really kind of determines, there's so many different angles and like what they actually need. But let's speak specifically to AI visibility, like that waterproof paper one, for example. Almost overnight, once we started to really optimize all their pages and get all of our content live, get all the optimizations done, do proper reputation management, spin up our own custom review pages, right, wherever we need to, then we literally saw like a 4x AI search visibility like increase overnight. Which again translates to thousands of clicks that are coming in from a totally new source, and literally we could watch their authority rise over some of their like bigger competitors that are like well known in the space, because it's so crazy. I think what a lot of the AI tools use they call sentiment. It's like the sentiment becomes much higher because maybe you have amazing reviews and crazy evangelists, but if the AI isn't surfacing you at all, they're never going to find your reviews, so they're never going to know that you're better than your competition. I think that's like such a critical point that you can actually game once you finally get the platform that you need to actually be seen. Then it's very obvious that your product's better than all your competitors. I mean, because that's one thing that if you're listening to this podcast, I guarantee you your product's better than the competition. That's why you started the business in the first place. But the problem is, if the AI can't find you and find your reviews and your evangelists that are saying that from mountaintops, they're never going to know. No one's ever going to know. You're invisible. So it's so critical that you do all the right steps to be seen, so that way then your customers are also given a platform to then promote your brand further. So a lot of it is like this. I say all that to say it's a very like unanimous compounding effect. Once it starts to work, it just takes off like really rapidly. I would almost say even more rapidly than how it used to be. It used to be, a pretty slow slog. You could watch, SEO over 6 months, 8 months, 12 months. You could watch it kind of iteratively, like linearly increase. Whereas now it's just absolutely parabolic. Like once everything is firing on all cylinders, boom, it just shoots right up and it just becomes, just massive. So pretty exciting there.
I got an interesting question for you guys. It's kind of popped off the top of my head, but new product launches are something that e-commerce brands often do. So, like let's say they're rolling back a certain part of their catalog and they're introducing a new part of their catalog. What are some things that they can do besides what they're already doing for product launches that will optimize for, search, LLMs to, show their new product launches to people? Like, what are some things that you guys think would help with that?
Yeah, a lot of content. I mean, like before you even are launching the product, like go ahead and start preparing the commercial intent and maybe putting like a different product in that collection page in the short term. So let's say you're going to release an energy powder product, right? But maybe you already have like a vitamin C powder product. Talk about that. Go ahead and create the pages and just put your vitamin C product there. And the moment that your main product is live, just add it to the collection page. Super easy, or remove the others, whatever you want to do. But like, there's no reason that you have to have that product page live to start ranking for those, which is important to know. So you can kind of seed the system, which I think is important. And then obviously once you get your page live, optimize the hell out of it. Meta's titles, H1s, your HTML is solid. You're writing about it in all the right places. You're maybe getting some listicles out.
That's where I was about to get a product review page done, like on a different site, maybe take out a press release about your new product coming out, like in kind of following the same playbook that we mentioned before. It's just like get the fact that that new product is out, or get that page out on as many different pages as you can, right? Yeah. Like when somebody searches that as early as you can. So when somebody searches that, you're just like boom, 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 or like appearing like in the search there. So
I mean, yeah, like to a point that we always ask, like one of the first questions we ask any new client or any existing client every meeting is like, let me see your upcoming marketing calendar. Like give it to me. Tell me everything you got coming up. And even if they have something going on in December, even like today, you know, we're going to start promoting it in different ways, in a way that is like authentic and adjacent to their current products. So that way we can work our way there from like a search perspective until it's very clear by the time the product releases, you're already ranking for it. A classic one is that we work with in the past, a bunch of cannabis companies, and a lot of them were releasing, probably a bunch of people on this podcast probably bought some of these products, but like mushroom gummies. And so we were able to like pre-launch their product. So the moment they actually took the product page live, they were already ranking like number 2 for mushroom gummies. So, which was a massive like lion's mane gummy or something like that, whenever that was super hype. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. So seed your pages early. You know, there's no time is, because it's all tied to your URL. So there's no time that's too soon to create new URLs. Even if you're going to go through a website redesign or a change, it doesn't matter. All the SEO, all the AI juice is tied to that URL structure, period. You know, your blank.com/collection/x4y, you know, that URL is where the SEO and the AEO energy lives. So you can keep adding it. You can resurface it. You can change it. Doesn't matter. Just get it live, basically.
Got it. So a lot of my audience happens to be high ticket e-commerce store owners, because that's kind of one of the things that I've been doing for the last, 10, 15 years. Do you guys have any specific advice for people selling expensive branded products online? Is it any different? Anything specific?
Yes. Yeah, actually, I think this is even a better channel for them because again, if you have a high ticket item like that, you probably have a super niche audience, which means if you really service those exact questions, those exact benefits, you will rank, because there's not a lot of competitors out there, which again is probably why you started in the first place, or the competitors are just a much more inferior product. So all of this stuff is almost like magnified times 3 because you already have that super high LTV. It doesn't take a lot of new customers to really kind of pay for your energy and your efforts in doing AEO, GEO, SEO, whatever. And at the same time, you should be doing reputation management anyway. So you probably already have a strong foundation because again, you have a tight customer group. So you're probably well talked about in that customer group. So you're already able to crush it. But again, I think the value is even higher. Like we work with a couple like sauna companies, for example, and like cold plunge companies that have, a couple $1,000 products or way higher. And you can just surface the hell out of those because most likely you have a very specific reason why you have that product, why that price point is there. So it's much easier to find your exact customer. And the AI knows that. The AI knows that maybe you've had, back problems, that you're trying to look for red light therapy, all these other things.
Yeah.
And then they slowly figure out that you have the best red light therapy in-home custom sauna. Because again, It knows that you're a luxury client, and like AIs know all these things, that money's no option. So they're going to show you to the highest custom provider and you nail it. And it's just so easy. So there's actually less steps you need to take if you are a high ticket.
And and understanding that, like from the customer perspective, typically for whenever you sit down to buy a high ticket item, there's a lot more thought and research that goes into it. So those conversations are, like Robert said, a bit more niche, a bit more intimate whenever you're having those. So being able to appear for that and being able to answer all the questions that people have because they are doing their research. Like if I'm buying something that's $20, like sometimes I'll just see the first thing and click it. But if I'm buying something that's $1,000, like, I know my shit, whenever I go to purchase that. And so being able to answer all those questions and appear for those different conversations is going to be paramount, honestly. So,
yeah.
So one of the interesting things I always think about is competition, because it's, what we have to deal with every day, right? Our clients deal with it, we deal with it. This stuff is fairly new still. People are still kind of learning how to do this. As time goes on, obviously, it's probably going to get a lot more competitive. You're going to deal with people that are outranking you in the LLMs. How do you guys feel like people are, should deal with that? E-commerce companies and, who knows?
Nick, you gonna take that one?
Could you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
It's all good. Just how, things will get more competitive in the AI ranking space. Like, let's say, you sell the same product that 3 or 4 other stores sell, maybe 5 or 10 other stores sell, and they're outranking you already. How are you going to outrank them? Is it just doing better content, getting better links, that kind of stuff? Basically?
I mean, you want to stay on top of things, right? Because not only is it like the most informative content that's coming up on these, but it's also the most like up to date, because things are rapidly changing. And so one of the differences, as we know, like when GPT first launched, like their information was as of like 6 months ago, right? And now it's like live. And so you need to stay on top of things, right? And like as Robert mentioned, a lot of these bigger brands have these different channels of of approval. So if you're able to stay agile and get things up and stay on top of things, like refresh older pages to stay on top of like the newest things going on, that's going to be super big for you. But then at the same time, like, look at what they're doing too, right? And see like the gaps that they have in their strategy. Like, because maybe a bigger brand doesn't feel the need to write about a very specific use case. Maybe they don't feel like they need to write to the person buying the waterproof labels for the lettuce at Whole Foods. And so like, if you're able to find those gaps and stay agile, that's how you can kind of close that gap and like slay the dragon, I guess, you know, as Robert was kind of putting it earlier. So you need to continuously make an effort. Like, you can't just drop 100 pages and be like, oh, can't wait for this. Like, you're not done. Like, you know, and honestly, if you do all that at once, you might be hurting yourself too, because you're going to get flagged on Google for dropping 100 pages at once of slop. So like, it needs to be methodical, intentional, and continuous is like the thing there.
Yeah, the irony of that, even the Google statement you just made is right. In order to get surfaced on ChatGPT or AI faster, you need to rank on Google. So it's like the
you need to index at least.
Need to index, so you at least come up in web search, right? I think that's like how you're going to be serviced as a smaller brand versus the bigger brand that's already showing up in their training data, basically. So that's the only way you're going to win is whenever, you know, ChatGPT is asking itself, is there a better product today? My training data is from 6 months ago. Is there anything newer out here? So they're looking for relevant, for new, for exactly what Nick was basically discussing.
Yeah.
The second thing, though, I would say is, you know, again, play with the long tail prompts. You know, maybe the ones you're searching you don't rank #1 for, but maybe there's some longer tail prompts. If you click on their page, you find that ChatGPT is showing a generalized page of that competitor's website, right? Maybe it's like a collection page that is not specific. It's more just like a broad area, because that means that's the best that they have to surface. So then make an exact page, make 5 versions of it with different headings, different long tail keywords, and put that on your website. And then again, watch that rank pretty quickly.
A lot of times, like, you'll be looking for running shoes, right? For like a marathon that's super hilly or something. And like, maybe that has a different dynamic than a flat one, but then the page that's coming up is just like Hoka's running shoes. And you're like, well, that just says running shoes. Like, I need to, like, you know, tailor this for what people are actually looking for. And so, so that's how you can, separate yourself. And, you know, I don't know if Hoka's looking at doing one for the Salt Lake City Marathon or something, like, who knows? And so, like, being able to find those little gaps is going to be super important. You just need to, like, do what got you to where you are, right? Like, you already know that you're entering a space with a lot of competition. You already have a certain level of scrappiness and like go-getter attitude. Like, channel that into your marketing as well. Like, like in addition to your product, like, put the same energy and thought into it, and like, you know, good things will happen.
True. That's awesome. I love that. Yeah. I think it's just going to be one of those things, like you said, checking where the gaps are, you know, and filling those gaps and understanding your target market. I think it's so essential. I think it's great advice. Do you guys have any final bits of advice besides that for e-commerce founders that, you know, might feel overwhelmed by all this AI stuff? Don't really know where to start?
Oh yeah, 100%. If you haven't already, you'll probably see us in your Instagram. You know, we have a pretty heavy amount of ad coverage, and we're all over YouTube. We're kind of all over the place. So yeah, I mean, again, where you guys can just go to qck.co to check us out, and we'll do all this for you. I mean, even just on an introductory call, like, we'll cut through all the noise and tell you exactly what you should do, how you should do it, to a point that our proposals are literally called roadmaps. We give you exactly what to do. It just kind of helps us make sure that any client we kick off with is in it for the long term. They're in it to win it. They're in it to collaborate with us and build something that's going to last. And so again, by giving you guys all that information early, and you can go, we tell you can go execute it yourself if you want. It doesn't matter, but we're always here as a resource. I think that's what, I guess, if there's any one thing that I can say is just, if you're overwhelmed by this, if this is too much, just hit us up on qck.co, hit us up on Instagram, wherever, click on the ad. It can be literally anything, but we will find you, and we'll walk you through everything you need to know, and we'll make it really easy to understand and not complex.
Yeah. And like my answer to that, my non-promotional answer to that is kind of like, just get started, like, do something, like, you know, and don't sit on the sidelines, like, enter yourself in, like Robert mentioned before, like, no one, you know, or not, I don't want to say no one's reading your stuff, like, that sounds rude, but like, the main audience that you're going for doesn't have eyeballs. So just like, go in there and put things on your site. Like, you know, it doesn't need to be front facing on the site. It doesn't need to be like, and just like, get started on it. Because if you're afraid or you're like overwhelmed, like just take a step back, think about like just you can only do this one page at a time. Like, and so do it one page at a time, do one page. Like maybe like one of the things that I like to do on some of these little side websites that we're just kind of building is like I'll do a page and then I'll just go check and I'll start seeing it get impressions, right? And if it gets impressions, it means it's an index, which means that it can be found by GPT and these AI, these different LLMs. So just jump into the arena, like enter the arena. Like that's the main thing there. And then if the arena is filled with too many gladiators, or you feel like what are too many gladiators fighting around and you don't know what to do or direction, you know, give us a call. And like we will, like Robert said, cut through the noise there. But like you can't do anything unless you know, enter the arena. So that's my main thing.
Love it. I love what you guys are doing. Super excited to see how things go. We'll definitely be in touch in the future. Thanks so much for being on the podcast, Robert and Nick.
Sounds good, man. Absolute pleasure again.
Trevor, nice to meet you. Would love to, you know, chat again at some other point, even if it's in an informal way, because this is a great conversation.
Absolutely. So, would love to. All right, guys. Well, have a great day. And
all right, take care.
See you.
You too. Bye.
Bye.